This kind young woman carried an old lady's bag, and moments later she was in a billionaire's mansion. The bus station was noisy, filled with people rushing, suitcases rolling, voices blending into a restless hum. Amid all that, she stood still for a moment, adjusting her second-hand backpack on her shoulders. She was only 24, a young black woman with tired shoes but a heart that had never grown tired of kindness. She didn't have much money, didn't have the comfort others carried so easily, but what she did have was a spirit that always looked for ways to help. That was when she noticed her. An elderly woman, struggling to lift a heavy bag onto a bench. The weight was too much for her frail arms. People passed by, pretending not to see, too busy chasing their own fortune to care. But this young woman stepped forward without hesitation. "Here, let me help you." The old lady looked up, surprised. Most faces she had seen that day were indifferent, some even cold. Yet this stranger bent down, lifted the bag, and carried it with an ease that came not from strength, but from willingness. Before we dive deeper into this journey, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment below where you're watching from. We love hearing your stories too. "You don't need to do that," the old woman whispered. She smiled, shaking her head. "I want to. You shouldn't carry this alone." As she walked beside her, the old lady studied her. There was something pure in the way she carried not just the weight of the bag, but the weight of life, with quiet dignity. She asked questions about her day, about her family, and the young woman answered honestly. Life was hard, jobs were rare, and dreams often felt out of reach. But her words carried no bitterness. The old lady was touched. "Why did you stop to help me, when everyone else just walked away?" She shrugged softly. "Because, if we only look out for ourselves, what kind of world are we building? Sometimes, kindness is the only thing we can give." The words lingered in the air. They didn't sound rehearsed, didn't sound like someone trying to impress. They were real. The old woman's eyes softened, and for a brief second, she looked at the girl as if she saw something far greater than what the world saw. They reached the bench. The bag rested safely at last, but the old lady didn't let go of her hand. There was a trembling warmth in her touch, as though gratitude wasn't enough to express what she felt. "You remind me of someone I once knew," she said quietly, almost to herself. "Someone rare." The young woman laughed nervously, unsure how to respond. She was used to being overlooked, ignored by those who measured people by money, looks, or power. Compliments like that were unfamiliar, but they stirred something inside her, something that felt like hope. The old lady's eyes gleamed with a curious light. She leaned closer, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. "You don't even know where this kindness will take you." The young woman frowned slightly, puzzled. Was it just gratitude speaking, or was there something hidden behind those words? Before she could ask, the old lady straightened her back, suddenly looking less fragile than before, as though she carried a secret strength. The noise of the station faded into the background. In that instant, it felt like the world itself had slowed down, as if preparing the stage for something unexpected. She didn't know it yet, but that one simple choice, to carry a stranger's bag, was about to lead her into a world she could never have imagined. And as the old woman's smile deepened, carrying an unspoken promise, the young woman's heart skipped a beat, sensing that this meeting was only the beginning of something far bigger than herself. The old lady tightened her grip on her hand and whispered, almost like a prophecy, "You'll see very soon." The young woman thought the moment was over. She had done her good deed, carried the bag, and now it was time to continue her own journey. She was already turning to leave when the old lady's voice stopped her. "Wait. Please, come with me." She blinked, unsure she had heard correctly. "Come with you?" The woman nodded with a surprising firmness. "Yes. I don't want to thank you with just words. Let me take you to my home. At least share a meal with me." The young woman hesitated. She wasn't the type to follow strangers, especially not in a city that could be unkind. But something about the old lady's eyes disarmed her. They carried no danger, only warmth, and perhaps something deeper, something she couldn't yet explain. "I don't want to bother you," she said softly. "You're not bothering me," the old woman replied. "In fact, you've done more for me today than you realize. Please, let me do this." Reluctantly, the young woman agreed. She thought it would be nothing more than a modest apartment, maybe a small house. She pictured tea served in simple cups, a thank you meal, and then a quiet goodbye. But as they walked, things began to change. A black car was waiting outside the station, sleek and polished. A driver in a uniform opened the door for the old lady with respect that seemed almost royal. The young woman froze. Is this yours?" The old woman smiled faintly, not answering directly. "Come, get in." Her heart raced. She had never ridden in such a car. The leather seats, the silence of the engine, the way the city blurred past the tinted windows, it all felt like stepping into another world. She kept her hands folded in her lap, nervous, wondering if she should have refused. The drive grew longer. The streets changed. The small shops gave way to wider roads, manicured trees, and gated properties. The neighborhoods became quieter, cleaner, richer. Each turn made her chest tighten a little more. She pressed her forehead against the glass, watching as the world she knew disappeared behind her. And then, finally, the car slowed. Before her eyes rose gates so tall they seemed to touch the sky, iron bars entwined with gold details. Beyond them, she could see glimpses of fountains, gardens trimmed like art, and a mansion that looked like something from a dream. Her breath caught in her throat. "No, this can't be," she whispered. The driver pressed a button, and the gates began to open with a low mechanical hum. Her hands trembled. She didn't belong here. She wasn't dressed for this world. Her shoes were scuffed, her blouse faded, her whole life far away from silk curtains and marble floors. The old lady, however, seemed perfectly calm, almost amused by her shock. Why are we here?" the young woman asked, her voice shaking. The old lady leaned closer. "Because kindness deserves to be seen." As the car rolled forward, the young woman's eyes darted everywhere. Statues carved in stone, luxury cars lined neatly, staff moving about with precision. She couldn't stop thinking, "What am I doing here?" And then she saw him. At the top of the marble staircase stood a man. Tall, composed, his presence striking even from a distance. A tailored suit hugged his frame, the kind only the rich could afford. His hair was dark, neatly styled, and his gray eyes seemed to pierce right through the tinted glass of the car. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He only watched as the car approached, his expression unreadable, like someone who had seen everything in life yet found something unusual in this moment. Her pulse quickened. She gripped her backpack tightly, wishing she could disappear into the leather seat. The car stopped. The driver opened the door. The old lady stepped out gracefully. And then, as if the world had narrowed to a single heartbeat, his gaze shifted and landed directly on her. The young woman froze under the billionaire's stare, as if he already knew she didn't belong there, but for some reason, couldn't look away. She stepped out of the car cautiously, one hand clutching the strap of her worn backpack. The ground beneath her feet was marble, polished so perfectly that it almost reflected her nervous face back at her. She felt like every scratch on her shoes, every crease in her blouse, screamed louder in this place of flawless wealth. The old lady walked with surprising strength, her step steady, her head high, as though she belonged to this world. But the young woman hesitated, her chest tightening with every second under the billionaire's gaze. He didn't move. He didn't say a word. He just watched. Finally, the silence broke. His voice was deep, controlled, with a kind of tone only people used to being obeyed possessed. "Who is this?" The old lady smiled knowingly. "Someone who still remembers what kindness means." That answer puzzled him, but instead of questioning further, he turned his attention to the young woman. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to meet his eyes. They were gray, cold at first, like steel, but beneath that, something flickered. Curiosity. Inside the mansion, her senses were overwhelmed. Crystal chandeliers glittered above her head. Paintings framed in gold lined the walls. Every corner seemed to whisper of money, fortune, power. She tried not to stare too much, but it was impossible. She had never seen anything like this, not even on television. "You live here?" she asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. "Yes," he said simply, as though it were obvious. Then, after a pause, "And you?" She lowered her gaze. "Nowhere like this. I rent a small room. I work wherever I can." There was no shame in her words, only honesty. And that, strangely, unsettled him. Most people he met tried to impress him, exaggerate their importance, act bigger than they were. But she stood there in her truth, not asking for anything. He studied her a moment longer. Why did you help her? He motioned toward the old lady, who had disappeared briefly into another room. Because she needed help, she said, her voice steady. Isn't that reason enough? He almost smiled, but it was fleeting, as though he wasn't used to allowing such warmth to break through his mask. The old lady returned, watching them closely. There was a quiet satisfaction in her eyes, as if she had been waiting for this exact interaction to unfold. Dinner was served, and though the table stretched longer than most roads she had walked, she barely touched the food. Every bite tasted foreign, too rich, too carefully arranged. She kept wondering why she was still there, why this stranger who lived in palaces of money and power was giving her his time. Conversation flowed awkwardly at first. He asked questions. She answered with simple honesty. She asked questions too, things most people would never dare to ask a millionaire. Don't you ever get tired of all this? She asked, gesturing at the grand dining hall. He tilted his head. Of what? Of pretending that all of this makes life better. The room grew quiet. She feared she had offended him, but instead his lips curved, just slightly, into something resembling a real smile. You're not like anyone I've met before, he admitted. Her cheeks warmed, but she kept her eyes on her plate. Maybe that's a good thing. Later, he invited her to walk in the gardens. She wanted to say no, to return to the safety of the bus station, to the world she understood. Yet something in his voice, in his gaze, told her this was more than just a stroll. The night air was cool, scented with roses and trimmed hedges shaped like art. She felt like she was walking inside a dream too fragile to last. He walked beside her, his hands in his pockets, his silence thoughtful. She glanced at him, unsure what to say. She wasn't used to rich men, to their confidence, their world. And yet, for the first time that night, she realized he wasn't just studying her, he was searching for something in himself too. As they stopped beneath a glowing lantern in the garden, he turned toward her fully, his expression softer now. His voice dropped, almost vulnerable. Can I tell you something I've never told anyone before? The night wrapped around them like velvet, soft and quiet, broken only by the gentle rustle of leaves in the perfectly kept garden. The lantern above cast a warm light, painting his face with shadows that made him look less like the untouchable billionaire and more like a man, real, fragile human. She swallowed hard, unsure if she should answer his question. Her instinct told her to be careful, but something in his eyes told her he wasn't asking out of pride or arrogance. He wanted to be heard. You can tell me, she whispered. He took a deep breath, his hands still hidden in his pockets. People think money makes you free. That having fortune, cars, houses, all of this, he gestured at the grand mansion behind them, means you win. But the truth is, money built me a cage. I can't trust anyone. Everyone wants something. No one cares about me, only about what I can give them. She listened quietly, her chest tightening at his words. There was no pity in her, only recognition. Loneliness looked the same whether in a tiny rented room or a mansion of glass and gold. I don't know why, he continued, his voice lower now, but when I look at you, I see someone who doesn't want anything from me. You didn't even know who I was, and you still chose to help. Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't know how to respond, so she stayed silent, letting him speak. I'm 28. I've had more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But not once, his voice cracked slightly, not once have I felt something real. Until now. Her knees felt weak, her mind racing. Was this some test? A cruel joke from a man who had everything? Or was it real? He stepped closer, no longer the distant figure on the staircase, but a man searching for something he had never found. His eyes held hers, steady, unshaken. I don't want to waste time pretending, he said firmly. I want to know you. Truly. I want us to be something more. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. He exhaled, almost as if letting go of pride he had carried for years. Will you be my girlfriend? The words hung in the night air, heavy and impossible. Her heart pounded in her chest. This wasn't how her life worked. She wasn't supposed to be standing in a millionaire's garden, being asked to start something with a man who lived in another universe. She was supposed to be invisible, someone who helped quietly, lived quietly, disappeared quietly. Her mind screamed questions. Why me? Why now? Is this real? What will happen tomorrow? Her lips trembled. I don't know what to say. He didn't look away. He didn't laugh at her hesitation. He only waited patient, with a kind of patience that made her believe, for just a moment, that this wasn't a game. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that money hadn't poisoned his heart the way it poisoned so many others. But doubt clung to her like a shadow. What if she said yes and lost herself in his world? What if she said no and lost the one chance at something real? The garden was still. The night held its breath, waiting for her answer. Her pulse raced, her throat dry, her chest caught between fear and hope. She froze, torn between the voice of reason telling her to run and the voice of her heart whispering to stay, wondering if this was love, or just another illusion. Her silence lingered like a fragile glass between them, ready to shatter with a single word. She stood in the garden, trembling, her heart racing faster than her thoughts. The billionaire waited, eyes steady, patient, as if he could hold that moment forever. And just when she thought she had to answer, when the weight of it became too much, the sound of footsteps echoed softly behind them. The old lady emerged from the shadows of the garden path, her presence calm yet commanding. She carried the same bag the young woman had helped with hours before, now resting lightly on her arm as though it weighed nothing. Her eyes, sharp despite her years, glistened with quiet knowledge. The young woman turned toward her in relief, almost desperate for an interruption. But the old lady's gaze was different now. Stronger. Certain. There is something you need to know, the old lady said gently. The billionaire straightened, his jaw tightening. Grandmother. The young woman froze. Grandmother? The word crashed into her like a wave. She turned from one to the other, her mind struggling to piece together what she had just heard. Yes, the old lady continued softly, I am his grandmother. And I wasn't at that station by chance. Her knees nearly buckled. What do you mean? The old lady stepped closer, her voice steady, filled with something almost like reverence. I've been searching, watching, waiting. Too many people live in this world only taking, never giving. Too many see wealth and think only of money, fortune, or what they can gain. I needed to find someone different. Someone whose kindness was not a mask. Her hands trembled as she spoke. So I went where kindness is rare. I went where people are too busy, too tired, too blind to see. And there you were. A stranger, carrying my bag without hesitation. No questions, no reward asked. Just kindness. The young woman's mouth opened, but no words came. Her heart pounded louder than her thoughts. She wanted to believe this, but how could she? You tested me? She finally whispered, her voice breaking. The old lady nodded solemnly. Yes. I had to. My grandson may be a millionaire, but what he needs is not more money. He needs someone who can see past the fortune, past the walls he has built. Someone who can remind him that life is more than numbers in a bank account. The billionaire's eyes softened, the coldness slipping away. He looked at his grandmother, then back at the young woman, as though he too had been caught in a truth he hadn't expected. She stepped back, shaking her head. The revelation cut deep. So all of this, it wasn't coincidence. It wasn't real. It was real, the old lady insisted, her voice trembling now. Every step. Every choice. You didn't know who I was, and still you chose kindness. That is real. And that is why you are here. Tears stung her eyes. She felt used, deceived, like a piece in a game she never agreed to play. But beneath the anger, another feeling stirred, something frighteningly close to destiny. The billionaire took a step closer. I didn't know she planned this. But when I saw you, when I spoke with you, everything I felt was mine, not hers. Her heart twisted. Part of her wanted to run, to escape the mansion and its secrets. But another part, the part that still remembered the warmth of his words in the garden, hesitated. The old lady's voice was quiet, but firm, as if sealing the truth in stone. You are here because kindness still matters. And because love without kindness is nothing at all. The night grew colder, the silence heavier. The young woman's chest tightened as she whispered to herself, almost afraid of her own feelings. But how can I ever trust this or him? The air in the garden grew heavy, as if the roses themselves were holding their breath. She stood frozen between them, an old woman who had tested her, and a billionaire who had just bared his heart. Every instinct told her to run, to escape before she drowned in a world that was not hers. Yet her feet stayed rooted to the ground. Her voice trembled. You both knew something I didn't. You pulled me into this without asking. How am I supposed to trust any of it? The grandmother's face softened, her lined hands folded together. I understand. I would feel the same. But trust is not built in one night. It grows when hearts choose to believe, even when they are afraid. The billionaire's voice cut in, firmer, almost desperate. Listen to me. I didn't know she would bring you here. I didn't know you were being tested. But when I looked at you, when I heard you speak, it wasn't her test anymore. It was real for me. Her eyes burned, tears threatening to spill. She hugged her backpack tighter, a shield against the emotions clawing at her chest. Do you know what it feels like to always wonder if people see you, or if they only see what they can take from you? He took a step forward, his hands out of his pockets now, open, vulnerable. Yes. Every single day of my life. That's why I need you to believe me. I don't want your money, your background, or your past. I just want you. The words pierced her, but fear still wrapped around her heart. She imagined walking into his world of marble floors and glittering parties, where whispers followed every step she took. She imagined being the poor girl clinging to a millionaire, judged, doubted, unwanted by those who thought wealth defined worth. I don't belong here, she whispered. Maybe not, he admitted, his voice softening, but maybe I don't belong here either. Not without something real. Not without someone real. His grandmother's eyes glistened, as though she too was hearing a truth she had long prayed for. Child, she said gently, sometimes life gives us moments that look impossible. But those are the moments that can change everything. The young woman's chest ached. She wanted to believe them. She wanted to believe that kindness, the only thing she had ever owned, was enough to build a bridge across the canyon of wealth that separated them. But trust was fragile, and love even more so. Her voice cracked as she spoke. What if tomorrow you wake up and change your mind? What if this is just another illusion of fortune, and I'm the one left broken? His jaw clenched, his eyes never leaving hers. He took one more step closer, his voice low and steady. Then let me prove it to you. Day after day. Not with money. Not with promises. But with truth. With actions. With me. The tears finally fell, hot against her cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. She let them speak for her heart, torn between fear and hope. Silence stretched around them. Even the night seemed to wait for her answer. He reached out, his hand trembling for the first time, breaking the image of the perfect, untouchable millionaire. Will you trust me, even now? Her eyes locked on his hand, suspended between them like a bridge she was too afraid to cross. With her heart racing, she stood frozen, caught between the safety of walking away and the terrifying beauty of taking his hand, not knowing which path was destiny. The garden felt endless, as though time itself had paused, waiting for her decision. She stared at his hand, open, trembling slightly, the hand of a man who owned everything money could buy but was terrified of losing the one thing he couldn't purchase, her trust. Her chest rose and fell quickly, each breath a battle between fear and faith. She thought of her life before this night, the tiny rented room with peeling paint, the endless search for work, the way the world rarely noticed her except when it needed something carried, cleaned, or fixed. She thought of how invisible she had always felt. And now, here was a man who could have anyone asking for her. Not her beauty, not her body, not her effort, just her. Tears blurred her vision, but slowly, she lifted her hand and placed it in his. His fingers closed around hers with care, not possession, as though he knew how fragile this moment was. Her voice shook as she whispered, "I'll try." It wasn't a grand declaration. It wasn't a fairy tale, yes. But it was real, and in its trembling honesty, it was worth more than any fortune. The billionaire exhaled, relief washing over him. His grip tightened slightly, not to hold her prisoner, but to anchor her, to let her know she wasn't alone anymore. His gray eyes softened, no longer cold steel but something warmer, alive. The grandmother smiled, her heart full. She had watched her grandson grow rich but empty, powerful but lonely. Now, for the first time, she saw in his face the light she thought he had lost long ago. "Do you see?" the old woman said softly. "Kindness brought you here. And love will keep you here." The young woman turned to her, her voice unsteady. "I was so afraid. I thought I didn't belong." "You belong where your heart is," the grandmother replied. "And hearts don't care about money or mansions. They only care about truth." They began to walk through the garden, hand in hand. For the first time, the mansion behind them didn't feel like a prison of glass and wealth. It felt like the beginning of something real. The young woman still doubted, still feared what the world would say, but each step beside him made her wonder if maybe, just maybe, love could be stronger than judgment. As they passed the roses, he whispered quietly, "I don't care about what anyone thinks. I only care about what we build together. A life that's real, not just rich." Her lips curved into a fragile smile. "Then let's build it slowly. One step at a time." The stars above glittered brighter, as if the universe itself was blessing their fragile beginning. The grandmother lingered behind, watching them walk forward, her eyes wet with tears, her lips curved with peace. She had tested for kindness, and kindness had not disappointed her. At the edge of the garden, the young woman stopped and turned back for one last look at the mansion. It no longer felt like a symbol of everything she could never reach. It felt like a place where her story had been rewritten, not by fortune, but by faith. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "All of this began because of one small act, carrying a stranger's bag." The night air carried her words like a promise, reminding her, and anyone who might listen, that even the smallest kindness can open doors to the most unexpected destinies. And so, from a moment of simplicity was born a story of love, trust, and hope. A reminder that true fortune is not measured in money, but in the hearts we choose to trust, and the courage to believe in something greater than fear. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, share this video and tell us in the comments, what part of this journey moved you the most? There's another story waiting for you, and I'm sure it will change the way you see the world. Thank you for watching and see you soon.